Test 1, 2, testing. Test 1, 2, test 1. There we are, good there. Everybody hear me fine there? All right. All right, you bunch of wimps couldn't handle the heat. How's everybody doing? Nathan, you of all people, you're from California. You told me when you came here the seasons there were hot and fire, and that was it. Now you're here in Arkansas and you're complaining because it's hot. Got a little heat going on. All right, so a couple of 2 or 3 announcement things. I'm sure when Brenda gets up here, she'll have something else that I forgot, I'm sure. So y'all know next Wednesday at 6 o'clock, don't be late. 6 o'clock, we're going to grab the bus and go over to Informed Choices and going to tour the center there at Informed Choices. And then we're going to present them with the money we raised for our car wash for them. And then Rhonda wants to speak to you guys and thank you for your working on things, kind of explain what they do there and so forth. Y'all know, of course, it's a big deal right now. I'm sure all of you have not been under a rock. Roe versus Wade was overturned. It was a bad law, and it was overturned a couple weeks ago, and people are kind of going crazy over it, saying all kinds of crazy things and have all kinds of crazy ideas, when actually it's not a real big deal. It's a big deal, but it's not in a way. So anyway, that's they're of course a pregnancy center. So they're there to help moms that are in need, new moms, expecting moms, that sort of thing. So it's a good thing. To tell you how crazy people are getting before I get the message out, I mean, I was telling Heath earlier, Senator Elizabeth Warren today, or yesterday I think it was, who I'm not a fan of, but that's beside the point. She was speaking to a group, and she is wanting to introduce legislation into the Senate and the House that would close pregnancy centers around the country because she said it's unfair. There's 3 pregnancy centers for every 1 abortion clinic. And she said that's not fair, so we need to close all the pregnancy centers. And she wants to introduce legislation to close them. Because she said, her explanation was, y'all tell you how crazy people are. Her explanation was that it is torture for a woman to go in and someone to persuade her she should keep her baby and not have a choice to abort it. That's torture, she said. So that's how crazy some people are about these things. So anyway, that's my political speak for the night. We do know that next week is junior high camp at Rock Haven. Braden, talking, be quiet, okay. Next week is junior high camp at Rock Haven. And after that, August the 13th is our next event. That's on a Saturday. It'll be at Northvale Church here in town. And it's basically it's like a D-Now event. It's the one NABA scheduled back in the fall when it snowed, and they canceled it. It's basically that event. So it's going to be a good event. It is free. So we hope most of y'all can go to that, and maybe more of us by that time. Usually by school starts, usually we get a bigger crowd in here, so we'll see how that goes. So we'll be doing that too. Then there will be 2 events in September coming up that we'll be talking about more. One will be at Rock Haven that myself and some local youth pastors are putting together. It'll be a Friday night and all-day Saturday event. Very similar to Replicate in a lot of ways. They'll have band and speakers and so forth, and we'll spend the night, those that want to spend the night, that sort of thing. Of course, it's just south of town, so it's not a bad drive either. And on that weekend, fortunately, there's not a Harrison football game either. So it will be open to go, any problem to go on Friday night. The following weekend will be Replicate for some of you at least, and that'll be a 3-day event. There is football games, things that weekend, so they're more complicated, so we'll talk about that later. Anyway, anything I'm missing, Misty, you can think of? I think that covers everything right now. Y'all know July's only got, a couple weeks left in. Then the first 2 weeks of August, there are no church services at Woodland as we prepare to go back to school. So that'll be the first 2 weeks of August. We will not have church services at all. On Wednesday night, that is, to be clear now. It's just on Wednesday night. So make sure of that. So other than that, I think we're ready to start then. What do you say? Let me get my water so I don't smack on you too much here. We'll do the ice cream afterwards. How about that? Y'all got drinks and snacks right now, and I'm not going to go the whole time. You'll have time at the end. I promise. Okay. But y'all remember, because I forgot. So I wouldn't have had ice cream. Those things are pretty good. Anyway, so who remembers what we've talked about the last couple of weeks that have been here? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody? The Bible? Well, it was stuff in the Bible, that's for sure. We talked about choosing, right? Popularity and prosperity and so forth. And so a series is called I Choose. And we've been talking about making decisions for the positive over the negative, right? How that our decisions we make every day decide who we are in life. That basically, I told you guys last week that the decisions you guys have all made the last 10 years or so, because before that you were so small it didn't matter, but the last 10 years or so, decisions you've made and the way you've gone has determined who you are right now. How you dress, how you act, how you look, just about things you've decided to do in your own mind. Stubborn, good or not, right? But it has, right? So basically we've said our life is the sum total of all the decisions we make. And that's true. What else is it? Except the sum total of all the decisions we make in life. It is. So we're going to talk about those decisions more tonight, and how they determine who we are in the future. Because it matters, and we all wonder, well, what am I going to be like in 20 years, 30 years, right? So I want to start off with a little bit of a negative note. I know that would surprise you that I would start off with something negative, but something a little bit negative tonight as a start, even though y'all know I'm typically real positive and always happy and everything, right? So, in life, as you get older, like Misty, I didn't want to say me. I didn't want to say me. There are times in life when you will experience pain. And pain can be a lot of things. A lot of different types of pain in life, right? There's a lot of things that will cause you pain. And sometimes it's nothing you did at all. Sometimes it's just life. And it just happens that we end up suffering pain. But even though we did nothing, sometimes we suffer pain. You might end up in a freak accident, break your back or something. Heard a story about that earlier, yeah. You might have somebody that you love that betrays you and breaks your heart. And if you ever had a broken heart,
that wasn't nice.
Okay, Braden. If you ever had a broken heart, that's not an easy thing to get over. And unfortunately, pretty much everybody will have a broken heart at one time or another. Pretty much everybody will at various stages in life. You might go out and get you a job. You go to school, get you a job, get your career, get your diploma, of course. Then you get a job, and things are going good. You think, I'm on the right track. I'm going. Then your company decides to downsize, and you lose your job. You got to start all over. That's painful. That's painful. The reality is that some of the pain we face is within our control. It'll be our choosing. Some of the things that happen to us that hurt. But then there's things that are not. You can choose one type of pain or the other typically in life. Think of it like this. You guys can choose the pain of sometimes painful of obeying your parents. Even though sometimes you don't really want to and it's kind of painful, you don't like the way it goes, but you can choose that, or you can choose the consequences later, the pain of the consequences later when you don't. That's a choice you can make. You can choose the pain of living on a budget when you get your job, right, Gracie? You can live on a budget and all go good, or you can go get you some credit cards and run them up and then live on a mountain of debt and the pain of that, which ain't no fun. Been there, done that. I'm married, got a family, I understand. So, you guys, you can choose the pain of studying for that exam you got to take, or you can choose not to study and suffer the pain of failing that exam and having to go back next year and do it over. You can do that. So we can choose different pains that we have in life. We can do that. So now we're going to talk specifically about, are y'all done? We're going to talk specifically about choosing the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Because discipline's hard. A lot of us are not disciplined. A lot of us are only a little bit disciplined. And then some people are highly disciplined. But most people today are not very disciplined. I mean, think of it like this. How many people at the beginning of the year decide, I'm going to join a gym and get in shape? How long does that discipline last? Most experts say not till Valentine's Day. It don't last 6 weeks for most people. So that's just one example. But we're going to look first at the Apostle Paul in Romans 7. I'll be up with it in just a minute on that, Isaac. Most of y'all know who Paul is. We've talked about him plenty of times, right? I mean, he was a guy named Saul. His favorite thing to do was go out and hunt down Christians, right? He was kind of known for that. And he was struck blind by God. He was transformed, became Paul from Saul, right? Then his name changed to Paul. He was then healed of his blindness after he was struck blind. He met the risen Christ. He was caught up in what some call the third heaven. And he wrote nearly a third of the New Testament. Paul kind of defined what it is to know God. I mean, if anybody could say they knew God and had been involved, you could say it was Paul, right? You could say he had a spiritual edge. If it was Paul, if anybody, that had a spiritual edge. If anybody knew how to do it and what to do, it was Paul. Starting in Romans 7, verse 15. Paul says, after knowing all that about him now, keep that in mind, that Paul had a lot to do with knowing who God was, right? But yet, he says, I don't really understand myself. For I want to do what's right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. Go on to the next verse, Isaac. And I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. I want to do what's right, but I can't. I want to do what's good, but I don't. Can anybody relate to that? You ever been like that? I know what's right to do. I know it's the right thing to do, but I just do the wrong thing every time. Amber, you've never done that, have you? Never happened. I don't want to do what's wrong, but I do it anyway. And going to the last one there, Isaac, on that. The next one, yeah. Oh, what a miserable person I am. Who will free me from this life that is dominated by sin and death? Thank God. The answer is in Jesus Christ our Lord. Now, basically Paul is saying here, I feel so embarrassed. I feel so stupid because I just keep messing this thing up. I don't get it right. I want to do what's right, but I fail. I just keep on messing up. That's what he's saying. Paul, this guy who he met Christ, met the risen Christ, guy who was healed of blindness. I mean, he knew who God was, but he kept messing up. But then you look into those scriptures and Paul figures it out. He tells us the answer is in Jesus Christ our Lord. Gang, on our own, we make mistakes, don't we? We make wrong decisions. It may be as simple as turning the wrong direction on the highway if Brenda's driving the church bus. But we make wrong decisions. We do. It's a product of who we are. We live in a sinful, messed up world and we're just part of it. That's an unfortunate fact. We will choose the wrong things in life unless we learn to make those decisions with the power of Jesus Christ influencing our decisions, influencing our thought process. We will just keep on making those mistakes. Like Paul's describing, he just keeps on. He said, I don't want to keep doing it, but I do. I just keep on messing up. If we don't have Jesus influence our life, we keep on making those mistakes. Look a bit more what Paul said here in 1 Corinthians 9:24. Don't you realize that in a race, everybody runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. How many of you like to win? We played a game, half of y'all don't want to play no games, but how many of you like to win? See, I don't even like to play if I can't win. If I don't think there's a chance I'm going to win, I'm like, heck with this. I can't do that game. Now, Brenda, she don't care win or lose. But there's some games, because Brenda has that attitude, there's some games, y'all, that she just picks out to play, and no matter what, Brenda wins. We can't stop her. Oh my gosh. When we went camping on 4th of July weekend, it was hot one afternoon late, and we was sitting in the camper. I was kind of taking a break, and Brenda's like, "You want to play a game?" I said, "Sure." Just me and her. I said, "Sure, we'll play a game." She pulls out and said, "Yahtzee?" "Sure, Yahtzee sounds good." Well, if you don't know how Yahtzee works, we played. Every roll Brenda gets is one of the things she needs. I mean, she never misses. Every stinking roll she got was one of the scores. Now me, I roll and it's like, okay, nothing. I roll, okay, nothing. Brenda rolls, boom, score. I roll, nothing. Brenda rolls, score. Ended it up, y'all, her score was like 396 and mine was like 120. It was a massacre. It wasn't even close. Yeah, I did, Brayden. Thank you. So, I'm one of those people, though, when I'm running, when I'm doing it, when I'm competing, I'm not trying to get second place, or you. I'm wanting to win the race, like Paul said. Second place is first loser, right? I mean, second's like, what's the point? You know, it's even said in the Olympics that the silver medalists are the most disappointed of all medalists. They're the most disappointed. They're the saddest. They're more so than the third place bronze medal winners. The reason for it is typically the gap between first and second place may be 100th of a second or 1,000th of a second. And they're thinking, if I had just been that much faster, I'd have won. But they say the third place guy's like, I got a trophy. I got one. I made it. But the second place guy's like, if I had just been a little more. And so we're always running to win, right? We should be running to win. He goes on the next verse, 25, Isaac. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away. But we do it for an eternal prize. He's saying here basically, y'all, you have to choose what you want most versus what you want now. That's the key to discipline, is it not? I mean, if you'll be in great shape and look your best, do you do that, or do you think, you know what, really right now I just want to lay in bed and rest. It's just, bed feels so good today, and I'm not getting up and exercising this morning. I'm going to chill. This bed just feels so much better. You got to choose, which do you want? Mark's back there nodding. Mark knows, because I know for a fact he goes to the gym often. Me, I couldn't tell you if I've ever seen the inside of a gym. I don't know if I have. I don't do gyms. I don't lay in bed. I get up and do other things, but Mark is dedicated to being in shape in that. He's one of those. I know Nate's doing some gym stuff. Joel's doing some gym stuff. I mean, I know some of y'all are. I mean, you mentioned about working to get a car earlier when we was talking. And, you know, a lot of people would say, because I've seen this happen in today's society, like that video I showed you, the guy with the video games, his dad chopped him with a lawnmower. But, you know, it's like, okay, I really want a car, but I sure like playing my video games, and if I get a job, I can't play video games all the time. Right? That's true. It's true. You got to decide what you want to do. Decide what's important to you. I was real disciplined back in the day. I know y'all might find it hard to believe, but I was very disciplined. It was a long time ago. This trophy is my 1990 Thunder on Wheels National Finals trophy. When I was at the Astrodome at Autorama and I won the national championship in the 1,000-watt class, that's what this is from. I was national champion in 1990. Now, to tell you a little bit about discipline, I was so concerned about winning first place everywhere I went, at every show I went to. I have this $25,000 stereo system that's like, I mean, just you can't imagine all the time rebuilding it. I mean, I don't know how much money I actually spent on it, but it was typically worth about that, around that figure. And this is back in the 80s and 90s, okay? This is, money went a lot further back then. That was a lot of money back then. And I would literally have this stereo in the truck, and on Saturday night, going through town, we'd have shows usually on Sunday. So on Saturday night, if I was out running around town, if I ran around town, because I don't get my truck dirty, because I'm going to a show on Sunday. But if I ran around town, I had the stereo turned off. Of course, everybody knew I had stereo because I had this custom truck and the stickers and all the decals on everything. And they're like, turn it up. I'm like, no. And they're like, you're not even playing it. No, I'm not. Why not? Because I'm going to show tomorrow. Because I have these big batteries in the back, big Caterpillar batteries that ran the stereo. And I wanted them 100% charged, not 99. I wanted 100% charged. I might drive 8 hours to a show and not even play the stereo. Because I'd tune it ahead of time and want everything just right, everything perfect. And when we got there, we'd find a car wash, and we'd be out for a couple hours cleaning our vehicles and getting ready. I mean, everything had to be just so because I wanted to win. But I was disciplined. People are like, how can you drive 8 or 10 hours without playing your radio? Well, I want to win. And that's what it means. I want to win. So that's what I did. Now, the thing about it, this is one of the few trophies I've got left. Brendan may have showed you a picture at one time. I took a picture of my truck before, and I had this big, long GMC extended custom truck, and I had trophies just lined up down. I mean, I had, I don't know, 100 or so trophies. I don't know. I had a bunch. I have no idea. And to tell you how much the trophies meant to me later in life, because he talked about we're going for an eternal prize, not right now, right? Those meant so little later in life that we're married. We got our first house. When we moved out of our first house, I left most of those trophies in the attic. Didn't even take them with me. Just left them in the attic. Because they no longer mattered. Things had changed. Life had changed, right? And now, I mean, this one, it's still got cobwebs all over it, and it's dirty. It's not been cleaned in forever. It sits in the corner. Matter of fact, Dalton keeps it on his area because he wants to keep it as a remembrance, that I had there, because I don't even really think about it much anymore. Because there's things much more important now in life. And it's a different kind of prize we're after as Christians. But at that time, I was very disciplined about it, and I spent a lot of money to get what I wanted and get my prize. I was more dedicated than most. We'd spend all night sometimes tuning and working on them ahead of time. I mean, I'm not an all-night person. Y'all know that know me. But we'd stay up all night working on them, getting everything fixed just right and everything. I mean, there was a lot went into it. Most people didn't know that. And those people, of course, never won trophies. They didn't win prizes like I did. So discipline is a big thing. Paul talked about it when he said, we do it for an eternal prize. Not a prize that fades away with time. It was very valuable to me at one point, but that prize fades away. It's faded away now. It's not a big deal to me anymore. It's a talking point. That's about it. Isn't it neat? The root word for discipline is disciple. And we're all supposed to be disciples for Christ. If we're disciplined in our ways, we're probably a disciple for Christ, right? We do everything we do to honor and glorify Christ, right? That's what a disciple would do. That's why we run the race. That's why we do what we do. I mean, I was a big stereo guy because that was what I was disciplined to do, but things have changed. So now I've said all that, let me ask you something. I know some of you, you're going to grow because you're young. You're going to grow in your relationship with God. Simply because you decided, you know what, I'm going to go to youth on a Wednesday night. I'm going to go to church with my parents on Sunday morning. I'm going to go to church and think, I'm going to do that. Simply because you do those things alone, you will grow some in your relationship with Christ. I think some of that naturally happens. But ask yourself this question. What do you want most right now? And you know, I'm not going to ask you. You don't got to tell me yet. But I want you to I want y'all to ponder that a second, because I want you to think. I mean, you've made a decision to come here, to come to youth, and hopefully not just to. And I don't think it is with y'all. Not just hang out with friends, just to be in a party. That's not what you did. You didn't come here because your parents said you got to go to church. No exception. You got to go to church. You didn't do that. Y'all come here because because I think maybe you like it sometimes, maybe. So, you know. You'll grow some simply because you're putting forth some effort already. So what do you want most right now? Don't give me some goofy answer like, well, I want to win the lottery. Oh, sure. But no, don't give me that. Let's be serious. Be real a minute. What do you really want right now? Don't say it out loud. Just, I want you to take a minute and think about it. I mean, start with one thing. Pick out one thing. You don't got to be 50 things. Don't got to be 30 things. I mean, you don't got to come in and say, okay, well, I need to quit drinking. I need to quit smoking, quit shooting people, I mean, think about, right? Think about what do you really want most now? Really? I mean, we always want to say, well, oh, teenagers, you haven't got it figured out yet. Well, this you can figure out. You can. You can figure this out. Because all y'all got a heart, you got a brain, you're pretty smart. You can figure this one out.
Honestly, I think when you're in your teenage years, that's when you're dreaming and visualizing the most. Because, you know, you're throughout your young life, you're under somebody else's control. And I think I can remember lots of times I would just kind of sit down and think and constantly think about, okay, how do I get to where I want to be? And how soon before I can actually be in charge of myself and go for what I want to go for.
Very good.
Discount the fact that you're young. And
Right.
then you start mapping out a lot of your life. But centering it around God's will is what's important.
That's right. So, that being said, have all of you thought of something you want most right now? Everybody got something in your head? Everybody? Yeah. Okay, time's up. So, now that you have that, how does that line up with what we're doing and what we got to do, what we should be doing to glorify God? How does that line up with that? On doing things to glorify God. Things you want most in life, how does it line up with it? Does it take you away from that? Does it draw you closer to it? Is it along the same line? Think about that. Does it show you that you've grown up a little bit? To the point that you realize, you know what, it's time to do things to be a little closer to God. I am growing up. I am maturing. And maybe I should start doing a little more to get a little closer to God, knowing a little better. Does it do that? Is that something you want? Start with the thing you want most, you see. What you'll find, gang, if you start with just one, you'll find it's much easier to go after that one thing. And then other things start falling into place. That's why it's important to have good focus and know what you kind of want, know what you're after. Dave Ramsey calls it the snowball effect, where once you conquer one thing, then the next thing comes a little easier because you've conquered one. You got some momentum. You're moving down the road. You're gaining ground. You're gaining traction, if you will. You're not just spinning your wheels, so to speak. Next question. What do you need to choose now to achieve what you want most? What would you need to choose now to get what you want most? I mean, for instance, I'm going to give you for instance. You might say, I want to have a closer relationship with God. We're in church, right? That's a good one, right? So what do you do now if that's the case? How about you choose a reading plan on your app, on your phone, on your Bible app, a reading plan. And it alerts you every day, hey, read a few minutes, do this, read this book, read this chapter. How about that? Or how about you guys all came in here early tonight, how about you start attending the boys and girls Bible studies at 5 o'clock and growing? How about that? Would that get you closer to a relationship? Yeah, sure would. What about making sure you attend service on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights both? Get your families to come. Maybe they're not. Maybe you get your families to come. Because then you get to see from your senior pastor and your youth pastor and hear some different word and things and get some different input. And you grow some more. What about that? And while you're at it, isn't it kind of cool that if you're in that environment doing those things, you're around people who all kind of think somewhat like we do. We all kind of think similar. We all kind of have the same ideas. We all believe in the same God. We all kind of have the same concept that the Bible's God's Word, and He loves us. And there's certain things we do to please Him, and certain things we do we don't please Him, right? We all kind of have that. And how about this one finally? What if during worship, and Mark does worship, we do videos sometimes, but what about during worship? Instead of standing and listening, what if you decided, you know what? God means something to me. And you sing out the word. You know, those words are powerful. And you sing them out because you're singing them to God. You're not singing them to me or for your friends here. You're singing it to God. What if you did that? I mean, David said in Psalm 130, and this is not in there, Isaac, by the way. It's not. It's just something I just put in. David said, I will greatly praise the Lord with my mouth. Yea, I will praise Him among the multitude. That's among your friends. That's among your group. That's what David said. That would lift God up and glorify Him, right? That'd be kind of cool. It's not rocket science. Guys, you got to decide where you go before you start the trip, right? Otherwise, what's the point in starting if you don't know where you're going? I mean, you may think, well, okay, that's hard. I mean, Sunday mornings, Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest. I like to rest. And well, how about you get up and come to church instead? You know? I mean, you may say, taking time to read the Bible is not easy. Praying's not easy. This is where you got to pick your pain, you see. It's not a pain or regret. Discipline can be painful, can't it? I mean, discipline can be painful. I mean, when your parents disciplined you when you were younger, because it probably don't happen as much now, I'm guessing. But when they disciplined you younger, was it always fun or was it usually a little pain involved? Usually a little pain involved, right? So it's time to pick, y'all. Do you choose some pain from discipline, or do you choose to deal with the regret later because you didn't do it? Both are going to hurt. Both will have pain around them. What do you want most? Look what Paul says. Get ready to wrap up here in Corinthians 9, 26 and 27. So I run with the purpose in every step. I'm not just shadowboxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear after preaching to others, I might myself be disqualified. Paul's saying here, it's time to decide. You got to know what you want and have a plan to get it. You got to condition yourself. You got to prepare yourself. Think of this example. That's how important discipline is. In a little things. We forget the little things, y'all. Imagine you got your house. Someone might have hit your house. Imagine you got a house with a pretty front yard. Nice green, and not dead and green or something, but I mean a nice green front yard, right? And you got a sidewalk, goes out to the mailbox. But the mailbox is over here, so if you go down the sidewalk, you go down this way, or you could just take a shortcut across the grass, right? So you get up to go check the mail, and you're thinking, you know, I'm just going to run across the grass here. No big deal. I mean, how's it going to hurt the grass, right? And you go check the mail. Well, the next day you come out and you're like, you know, I'm just going to be faster. I'm going to run across the grass here right quick. I'll run across the grass. No big deal, right? Don't see a difference. Nothing really changed. Didn't hurt anything, right? Well, then at that point, who knows what happens when you keep going across the same path over and over on your grass, on your nice pretty grass? What happens? Make a path, right? Y'all see it in pastures with cattle. I always say people are like cows. People get in a line somewhere, and everybody kind of follows in that line. And you have a pasture out there of grass, and you'll see one path through that pasture. The cows have all followed. Instead of walking all over, they follow one path, and they wear the grass out. Because of a little bit of lack of discipline, taking those few extra steps to go to the mailbox, just a few extra steps. Because you didn't do that, you destroyed that nice front yard you had. Now it's ugly, got a big old path in it. It's not pretty and green anymore. Just because of that one little discipline thing, of taking those few extra steps. How many times do we need to take a couple extra steps and we're like, maybe next time. This time I'm tired. It's been a long day. It's been busy. Not this time. How many? Professional athletes, they work every day to be the best. Paul talked about conditioning like an athlete, right? I mean, they know if they take days off, it can hurt their performance, and they may not win. we tend to struggle in that area sometimes, do we not? What if we all decided to be like athletes in our pursuit of Christ? What if we made all of our focus about Him? When we think about Christ, we focus on how am I going to pursue Him? How am I going to get a little closer? What can I do to do that? What if we did? That's what I got. What do you think about it? You want to do small groups for a little bit and talk about it? Or you got something else you want to talk about? I was looking at Brenda myself, but what do you think? We did, yes, ma'am. Oh, you were out? We sure did. We did, sure did. Got you covered. Did it? Got you covered.
Well, so, the children's department gave us, they did sack lunches for everybody.
Right.
So there's turkey and ham sandwiches. So tonight's the night of food for you guys.
Okay.
Donuts, you have sandwiches, and we also have ice cream.
Yeah, we can take a break. Let's take a break and do that.
Yeah, so
We'll do that.
I don't
All right.
think